You are listening to the Atlanta Real Estate Forum radio show, all about Real Estate Edition, shining a light on the movers and shakers in the real estate industry, the home builders, developers, realtors, and suppliers making it all happen.
Good morning and welcome back to Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's All About Real Estate Edition. I'm your host, Carol Morgan, and I'd like to thank our 2022 show sponsor, New American Funding. This show is made possible thanks to their generous support. Today, we're going to talk about affordable housing options in Atlanta and how one of Atlanta's biggest apartment developers is working to provide affordable options. I'm looking forward to this conversation with Carmen Chubb. She is the president of Columbia Residential. Welcome to the show, Carmen.
Thank you very much, Carol. Glad to be here.
I'm so excited you're here. This is going to be a fun conversation. Before we dive into Columbia Residential, tell us about yourself.
Well, I will start by saying I am a native Atlantan. I grew up in Atlanta, which is the home base for Columbia. I went to Benjamin E. Mays High School, which is the same school that our current mayor graduated from. I went to the University of Georgia and got my MBA from Kennesaw State University's Coles College of Business. But my career has been entirely in affordable housing. I started on the single family side, working in loan accounting for single family mortgages. I started with the state very early in my career, but it's a state agency that operates as sort of a private entity. So very early on, I understood the financing related to single family, what happens after the loan is made, how to make sure people can remain in their homes. As my career grew, I had the opportunity to take on more and included rental housing, multifamily programs for people who were experiencing homelessness, housing choice vouchers. So every aspect of affordable housing that was presented for the state or administered by the state was under my purview. So I left the state in 2019 to join Mayor Bottoms. She had a high priority for affordable housing. So when she asked me to join as her chief of staff, I jumped to the opportunity to really help her administration and work with her team to elevate the issue of affordable housing in the city. I always knew as my tenure ended that I wanted to do something meaningful and continue to work in affordable housing, and started talking to Columbia and the CEO, Jim Growley, and the other president, Aaron Swain, about opportunities at Columbia. So it was a natural next step for me because of my passion, because of my experience, and my knowledge of Atlanta and what's needed here for affordable housing.
Wow, what a fantastic career you've had so far. I'm really looking forward to finding out, what you've got, in the works with Columbia, and it'll be fun to watch and see what you do over the next few years.
Well, thank you.
Give our audience a quick overview of Columbia Residential.
So Columbia is a mission-oriented for-profit company, and we develop and manage and own mixed income affordable housing communities, mostly in urban areas, but we have some in areas that are suburban areas. We have expertise in property ownership, management, development. We offer an array of resident services. And when we develop properties that include rehabilitation, our primary objective is to do it in high quality and allow our residents to continue to live there so that people aren't displaced. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that is a high goal for our company, to make sure we do things that make communities better and make lives better for the people who live there.
That's fantastic. Well, talk a little bit more about why you decided to join Columbia Residential. What excites you about this company?
Well, I was very fortunate in my career to have worked with the founder of Columbia Residential, Noel Khalil, and I wouldn't call him a mentor per se, but certainly someone I looked at and admired, not only because of his expertise in affordable housing, but his belief that people who are of modest means deserve quality affordable housing. And he would advocate for that with funders, government agencies, elected officials. It was his belief and his passion, and it radiates throughout the company. So from the outside looking in, Columbia was always a company that I respected and admired. They did what they said they would do. They did it in a way that honored people and that built a long-lasting asset for community. So, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, the community still sees the property as an asset. So, it wasn't something I planned, but when the opportunity to have a conversation about it became available, it was something I jumped to. And I'm really excited to use my business acumen that I got with my MBA in 2020, along with my passion for affordable housing.
Yeah, what a great background and great combination that you bring to them. Well, as president, what are your primary responsibilities?
I am primarily responsible for our development, ownership, and asset management functions. And those are all making sure we identify opportunities, bring those opportunities to fruition, and do it in a way that has a decent return to the partners. And I also manage all of the staff that works on the development, ownership, and asset management side of the business. My peer, Aaron Swain, he's the president of property management, and the majority of our employees are in the property management space because those are the people who show up every day in the communities that interface with the residents and make sure that the properties are sustainable for the long term. We both work with the CEO, Jim Growley, and together we develop the vision for the company and our business plan. And I'm responsible for delivering on that business plan as it relates to the development side.
Yeah, sounds like it's been very well thought out as far as who does what.
Yes.
And I guess speaking of opportunities, what are your year one priorities?
Well, I talk about it in two ways. One is just how do I orient myself to the company? And I think about that from getting to know the people. That's the people who work here, as well as the people we serve in the communities that we build. Getting to know the places. So because I worked in Atlanta, I'm very familiar with many of the properties that we have here, but I want to visit the sites that we have in New Orleans, in Texas, in Florida, and really get to know our product across our footprint. And then the third P is the planning. We are at a point in our company's maturation where we want to grow. And how do we plan for that growth? We know we have the footprint to do it. We know we have the platform. We know we have the talent. So how do we take that and plan for the company's growth in the future? So those are my development goals. But then I'm also, as I mentioned, responsible for delivering on the 2022 business plan. So we have 7 projects under construction that we have to complete by the end of the year. 6 of those are in Metro Atlanta. And we have 6 projects that we need to close by the end of the year. So working with the teams to make sure we finish construction on those sites, put them into play, and then close on the remaining ones so they can begin construction very soon.
That is a lot going on.
It's a lot going on.
So give us just kind of a high level, overview. Where are those projects in Metro Atlanta?
So we have, I talked about being, having a focus on urban areas. So we have properties in Atlanta and in DeKalb County. We have one that we just completed called Stride Senior Residences. It's in DeKalb County, very close to the MARTA station and in partnership with the DeKalb Housing Authority. We're wrapping up construction on a property we call Capitol View. It's on Metropolitan, right off the Atlanta Beltline. Our company was very strategic in purchasing that site when it was about to flip to market, knowing that if we didn't bring it into ownership and keep it affordable, then would be market
Right.
rate and people would be displaced. So that shows the range, but we also work in Columbus. We have properties, as I mentioned, in other states as well. And Athens, I should have mentioned that. Those aren't metro. Columbus and Athens aren't metro, but very important components of our business in Georgia.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you have that property on the Beltline, and you're absolutely right. So many of these, hot, fun, walkable areas of town, as they, change and uh, I guess we'd say improve. Sometimes improvements aren't improvements. They
Right.
displace people who've been there for years and years and years. So I love the fact that y'all are coming in and have an eye on that. Well, what are some of the biggest challenges that Columbia Residential is facing, and how will you address those challenges?
Well, I think the biggest challenge we see is similar for companies like us, and really the issue as a whole, which is the need for affordable housing. The need outpaces the ability of a company like ours and others to develop quickly enough. So scaling our ability to deliver units. The challenge is the need, the opportunity is we have the ability to scale. But at the time that we're trying to scale, construction costs are increasing rapidly. We're seeing property taxes go up exponentially in some areas. DeKalb County is a perfect example there. And then insurance on properties, because as you redevelop communities that may have had some challenges before, maybe in areas that have higher crime rates, as those communities are turned around, you still have issues and concerns with property insurance. So I'll put all that in the category of costs. So we need more public resources dedicated to affordable housing. I think, there's a strong recognition among elected officials, whether they're local or national elected officials, that this is a need, but we got to put more resources toward that need.
Well, you've identified a lot of the challenges with building anything,
Right.
anywhere in 2022 or
That's
last
right.
year. Yeah. And then you throw in, gas prices, and you just
Right.
all the volatility in the market makes it hard, because how do you price things or try to lock in those, prices and rates?
That is exactly right.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine some of those challenges are the same ones that affordable housing is facing. But, what else is going on? What are some of the biggest challenges as affordable housing, and how do we overcome them?
There are concerns about displacement. And I think when you talk about affordable housing, in many cases, you have to redevelop existing housing, maybe to create a mixed income community where it was completely what I would call a low income community. So in those cases, I think you have to we as developers and owners, but also policymakers have to be very thoughtful about what happens to the residents as communities are redeveloped. So we certainly want to bring solid, quality, affordable housing to communities, but we want to make sure the people who've invested in those communities their whole lives aren't displaced. So there have to be housing units for people to continue to live there, and policies that avoid displacement of existing residents. I think that's a big issue across the board. I think, again, you have to just constantly focus on it and make sure as you plan that you think about the people who live there, hear from them about what they want in their communities. What do they value as it relates to the type of housing that you're building, and what you can get approved in communities across the board. And then as areas are growing around the Beltline and others, being very thoughtful about how do we make sure affordable housing exists where these opportunities are growing. And I think the city's doing a really good job about that, but the city can't do it alone. We have to work in partnership to make sure we're leveraging those opportunities as well.
Yeah, those public-private partnerships are so key. And, Mayor Bottoms did a great job of focusing on that. And I think the current administration is going to just move that forward. So,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's, a hot topic, and as it should be. How does Columbia Residential promote and embrace DEI?
I think one of the really priority things that Columbia does is recognizing the talent and growing its talent. So we have a very diverse workforce. We have women, minorities in all layers of management in the company. And what you'll see at Columbia is that we invest in those employees. So when opportunities present themselves, if you start out as a leasing agent on a property site, you have the opportunity to grow in the management of the company. But it's not just by happenstance. We take a very proactive approach in investing in our team and growing our team and promoting from within. With that, we also recognize that people don't all have the same learning opportunities from a standpoint of whatever their experience was when they came to Columbia. So we provide those learning opportunities within the company. It's very intentional. And I think as you see with me joining the company, making sure we have representation of women in leadership and minorities in leadership was definitely intentional.
Well, and so much of it comes from the top down, and it has to be intentional. It's not going to just happen.
That is right.
We have to take our biases, if we have any, and put those aside and really look at the world and look at our companies and make them a reflection of the world.
That's right.
Not just a reflection of ourselves. So
that is exactly right. And I think Columbia's really done a great job doing that.
And I appreciate that. Kudos to them. Well, for women considering a career in affordable housing, what advice do you have for them?
What I would say about affordable housing is that it is not one size fits all. It involves policy, it involves development. You have to understand financing, you have to understand communities and people. So I would say learn everything you can. Every opportunity you have to be in a room where these matters are discussed, even if it's not something that you're currently working on, there's always an opportunity to learn and grow. I think as women, we have to recognize that we should be in the room. We have to own our space in the room. We can ask questions if we don't know, because that's how we learn. I think sometimes we're conditioned to say, I should know this, so I'm not going to ask, but own the space that you're in and take advantage of the learning opportunities. And understand that, mentoring, partnering with people who've been there, whether they're male or female, can also give you insight and give you a foothold in the industry and build relationships, no matter what discipline it's in, because no matter what you do, those relationships are going to be the things that help you move your career and whatever company you're working for, move that forward. So those would be my tidbits of advice for women.
Those are great advice. And you're so right. So much of it is relationships and then getting involved, taking advantage of those opportunities that you have. If you've got a seat at the table, don't just sit there quietly, participate.
That's right.
Ask questions.
Right.
So,
and men play golf, and I'm not trying to make stereotypes, but there are so many ways to connect with people, whether it's golf, whether it's running, whether it's serving at a nonprofit. So take advantage of those opportunities, meet people, build relationships.
Right.
I think that's important.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. Well, that's about all the time we've got for today. So how can our listeners get more information on you and Columbia Residential?
Well, Columbia, our website is columbiares.com. And on our website, it has our leadership profiles. You can learn more about me, our CEO, Jim Growley, our president of property management, Aaron Swain, but also on the site, other leaders who lead different components of the business here at Columbia Residential, including resident services, et cetera. And you can learn about properties that we've developed, availability of units at those properties, but we also are active on Twitter at Columbia_RES. And we are making a very concerted effort to push more content out on Twitter. So that's another place you can learn about what we're doing here at Columbia.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm a big Twitter fan. A lot of people, I guess have kind of bypassed Twitter in recent years, but it is a fantastic place. And I imagine that lots of your residents like to communicate with you there. So that's
That is
probably
right.
why you've taken an active approach. So kudos to you guys for not just ignoring it, but embracing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, reach out to Columbia Residential to stay in touch with all these different projects they have going on and to keep up with the affordability conversation. And thank you for what you do, Carmen, to help keep, housing affordable in the metro area.
All right. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me and giving me a chance to talk about Columbia Residential.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, this is a wrap for Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's All About Real Estate edition. I'd like to thank Carmen Chubb, President, Columbia Residential, for joining me in studio today. On behalf of our show sponsor, New American Funding, I'm Carol Morgan, your host. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, there's lots of opportunities to get involved with Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio and participate. You can follow us on Facebook for more Metro Atlanta real estate news. You can continue the conversation by downloading Stitcher or iTunes or Spotify on your phone and listening to every single episode of the show. You can also go to YouTube and click on the notification bell at the top of the page so that you never miss an episode. Some of our episodes are also recorded on video. If you'd like to participate in Atlanta Real Estate Forum, contact me, Carol at denimmarketing.com. And thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you again right here next week.
Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio is made possible by Denim Marketing, the publisher of Atlanta Real Estate Forum, Atlanta's favorite source for real estate and home building news. Denim Marketing is a comfortable fit, like your favorite pair of jeans. Denim Marketing tailors marketing strategies to meet your specific needs and niche. Try them on for size. They will work to create a perfect fit for your company's marketing program. Call them at 770-383-3360 or send an email to info@denimmarketing.com. For more information on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio or to inquire about being a guest, contact info@atlantarealestateforum.com. Check out the radio show by visiting atlantarealestateforum.com or by listening to the show on your favorite podcast app. And if you enjoyed today's broadcast, we'd sure appreciate a rating and review on iTunes. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio.